You know, there's a look people get when they think they have you, completely and totally beat. It's this little smirk, this shine in their eyes, and I'd seen it before back in my paramedic days, usually on someone who thought they'd gotten away with something awful. But I never, ever expected to see that look on my neighbor's face, on my own front porch, as she handed me a stack of papers that basically said my life in Ashwood Creek was over. This is a notice of county violation and intent to lien. Michael, she said, her voice just dripping with fake sympathy. You've been non-compliant for too long. The thing is, I've lived in this neighborhood for 20 years. My wife, Sarah, she's the head librarian over at the main branch, and we saved up our whole lives for this place. I just retired after 30 years on the ambulance, and I was finally going to have my garden, maybe build that ship in a bottle I always talked about. Life was supposed to get quiet, and it was. Except for Cynthia Vance, Cynthia wasn't the HOA president. Oh no, she was smarter than that. She was the treasurer. She controlled the money, which meant she controlled everything. She was one of those women who wears a tennis visor even when she's not playing tennis, carries a clipboard to the mailbox, and measures people's grass with a ruler. Seriously, I saw her do it to the Nguyens next door. Our feud wasn't about grass, though. It was about chickens. See, I'd built this little coop in the back corner of our property, tucked away behind the shed. It was beautiful, honestly. Looked like a tiny red barn. I'd researched the HOA bylaws, and while they weren't thrilled about it, the wording was vague. So I got 3 little hens. 3. Just for fresh eggs. Sarah loved 'em, Cynthia did not. It started with emails. Michael, the odor is affecting property values. Then it was certified letters. The clucking is a noise violation. I soundproofed the coop. I kept it cleaner than my own kitchen. Didn't matter. To Cynthia, those chickens were a personal insult. They were country, and Ashwood Creek, she'd remind me, was not country. This isn't a farm, Michael, she'd say at the mailbox loud enough for others to hear. It's 3 hens, Cynthia. They're quieter than your yappy little poodle. That's probably where I messed up. You don't insult the poodle. Things got cold after that. Real cold. We'd get fined for our mailbox being the wrong shade of black. A warning because Sarah's hydrangeas were encroaching on the common area sidewalk. It was petty, non-stop harassment, but this was different. I stood there on my porch, holding that envelope. It was heavy, thick paper. It had a gold foil seal on it that looked terrifyingly real. Sarah came to the door, wiping her hands on her apron. "What is it, Mike?" I opened it. It wasn't just a fine. It was a court document. A lien on our house for $10,000 in accumulated fines and county environmental penalties. And at the bottom, a signature. Judge Eleanor Hayes, Ashwood County Superior Court. I felt the blood drain from my face. 10 grand, a lien. They could force a sale. They could take our house. Sarah's hands started to shake. "Oh my God, Mike, is this real?" And Cynthia, standing there on the walkway, just gave me that look, that shiny-eyed smirk. "It's from the county, dear," she said to Sarah. "It's binding. I'd start liquidating assets if I were you. The board meets on the 1st to discuss foreclosure proceedings." She turned, her visor catching the sun, and just strutted away. I stood there for a full minute, that paper in my hand. My heart was pounding, but not just from fear. It was hot. It was the rage of a guy who'd spent his life running into burning buildings and was now being told to pack his bags by a woman with a clipboard. "Mike," Sarah whispered, her voice cracking. "What are we going to do?" I looked down at the paper, at that signature. Eleanor Hayes. I kept repeating it. Something about it felt wrong. Like seeing a word spelled so badly it hurts your brain. "Honey," I said, a slow, cold idea starting to form in the back of my mind. "I don't think we're going to do anything." I grabbed my keys. "I'm going to the courthouse. And then, I'm going to go to the print shop." The print shop? What for?" "Because," I said, holding up the document to the light, "that's not an embossed seal, Sarah. That's a sticker. The kind you buy at an office supply store." The drive downtown was a blur. My hands were clamped on the steering wheel, knuckles white. The whole way, I just kept thinking about that smirk. She wasn't just trying to enforce a rule. She was trying to break us. I walked into the county clerk's office, that big, echoing room that always smells like old paper and floor wax. I handed the document to Brenda, a woman I'd known for years from ambulance runs. She adjusted her glasses, scanned it, and then she snorted, not a giggle. A full-on, baffled snort. "Oh, honey, no," she said, tapping the paper. "Where'd you get this?" "My HOA treasurer, Cynthia Vance." "Well, Cynthia Vance is in a world of trouble." She turned her monitor around. "See, we have no file on you. No line, no penalties. And this," she pointed at the signature. "I filed 1,000 orders for Judge Hayes. This ain't her signature. It looks like a drunk spider tried to write in cursive." Relief washed over me so fast my knees almost buckled. It was fake. But that relief was followed by something else. Ice-cold fury. "Brenda," I said, my voice quiet. "This is, like, a crime, right? A felony, Mike. Forging a judge's signature? Impersonating a court? Ooh, the judge is gonna hate this." I thanked her, got a certified letter stating no such case existed, and walked out. My next stop was the Postal Hub, that little print and ship place in the strip mall. My dash cam had caught Cynthia's car there 2 days ago. I went in, and the kid at the counter, Leo, was barely 20. I showed him a picture of Cynthia. "Oh, Mrs. Vance," he groaned. "Yeah, she was in here Thursday. Total nightmare. What was she doing? Used the self-serve printer for like an hour. Kept complaining our premium cardstock wasn't official enough. Then she bought a whole sheet of those gold foil stickers, for like notary stuff. Kept messing them up, peeling them off, trying to get them straight." I leaned in. "Leo, I know this is a long shot, but do you have security footage of that printer?" He just shrugged. "Dude, I don't care." He tapped a few keys. "Yeah, here. Thursday, 2 p.m. Go nuts." And there it was. Clear as day. Cynthia Vance leaning over the printer, holding the paper up to the light, squinting, and then, carefully, practicing a signature on a piece of scratch paper before signing the final document. I paid Leo $20 for a copy of that file on a thumb drive. That night, Sarah and I sat at the kitchen table. We had the fake document, the letter from the clerk, and the thumb drive. "We've got her, Mike," Sarah said, her voice shaking, but this time with adrenaline. "Yeah, we do," I said. "But we're not going to just show it to her. We're not going to go to the HOA. This is bigger than them." I picked up the phone. "There's one more person we need to call." A minute later, a voice answered. "Hello? Aunt Eleanor?" Sarah said. "It's Sarah. Hey, I've got a weird legal question for you. Someone forged your name on a court document." There was a long, cold silence on the other end of the line. And when Judge Eleanor Hayes finally spoke, her voice wasn't Aunt Eleanor anymore. It was the judge. "Sarah," she said, her voice sharp and metallic, "send me that document right now. And Michael, you do not speak to Cynthia Vance again. You don't look at her. You don't acknowledge her. This is my jurisdiction now." The day of the hearing wasn't an HOA meeting. It was a criminal hearing at the county courthouse. Cynthia showed up in a bright pink power suit carrying her HOA binder, looking like she was ready to argue about bylaws. She saw me and Sarah sitting in the gallery and gave us a tight, smug little smile. She thought she was there to finalize our foreclosure. The prosecutor called the case. The state versus Cynthia Vance, on charges of forgery in the 3rd degree and impersonating a public servant. Cynthia's smile just froze. Her head snapped toward the prosecutor. I think there's been a mistake." "There has been," the prosecutor said. "The state calls its first witness, Judge Eleanor Hayes." Aunt Eleanor walked in from the side door, not in her robes, just a simple navy suit. She took the stand. Cynthia looked like she'd seen a ghost. She was white as a sheet. The prosecutor held up the lien notice. "Judge Hayes, can you identify this document?" Eleanor put on her glasses. "I can. It claims to be a notice of lien from my court." And is this your signature? Absolutely not. It is a poor and, frankly, insulting forgery. Thank you, Judge. The prosecutor turned to the big screen. The state would now like to play security footage from the postal hub, dated 2 days before this document was served. I watched Cynthia's face. As the video played, of her printing, of her peeling the stickers, of her practicing the signature, all the color drained away. She just deflated. She sank in her chair, looking small and pathetic. She didn't get jail time. I know. You're probably thinking, what? But Aunt Eleanor and the DA wanted something more permanent. She got 5 years of probation. She was fined $25,000. She was ordered to do 1,000 hours of community service, cleaning the floors and toilets at the county courthouse. And the final nail, she was legally, permanently barred from ever serving on any HOA board, trust, or community committee, for life. Her power was gone. The neighborhood was stunned. The HOA board dissolved overnight. Cynthia, well, she was a pariah. We kept the chickens, of course. The next weekend, I went out and I painted the coop. I painted it a bright, non-approved, vibrant cherry red. I even named the hens Cynthia, Law, and Order. I'd sit on my back porch drinking a beer and just listen to 'em clucking, and I'd smile. We won. We completely and totally won. But here's the kicker. And this is the part that still bothers me. Cynthia sold her house 6 months later. She had to pay the legal fees. She sold it fast to one of those faceless LLCs from out of state, and they turned it into a short-term rental. An Airbnb, the new neighbors. They're different every weekend. Bachelor parties, sorority reunions. They park on the lawn. They leave trash cans out for days. The music thumps till 3 a.m. The cops are there all the time, and there's no HOA board to call. No Cynthia Vance to measure the grass or complain about the noise. There's just chaos. Sometimes, late at night, I'll be sitting on my porch listening to the bass thumping from Cynthia's old house, and I'll look at my little red chicken coop. And I just have to wonder. I mean, we got justice. Right? So, I gotta ask you all, what is justice in a community? Was the punishment fitting for the crime, or should she have gone to jail? And what do you do? What do you really do when you win the battle against the neighborhood tyrant, only to realize she was the one thing holding back? Something so much worse. Let me know what you think in the comments. I could really use the perspective.